Soprano clarinets, selection 1 from the Cyril Rose 40 Studies. This is number 19 in C major. The tempo suggested is quarter note equals 84 to 96, or eighth note, I would say, is around 180. 16th note, if you can do this with your metronome, is 360, but most metronomes aren't going to do that for you. Errata. All 16th notes that are not under a slur should be played staccato. Now, staccato might mean short, but it always means separated. So keep that in mind as to style. Performance guide. To get started on this etude, choose a slow tempo and, working with a metronome, gradually increase the tempo. Be sure that you never play faster than your fingers can handle without making mistakes. Observe the variety of articulation patterns present throughout. To play the staccato, use a tit syllable and always keep the air moving forward. It helps to imagine you are whispering the tit syllable to keep the tongue nice and light. Clip the end of all slurs, the last note, before a staccato by placing your tongue back on the reed to stop the sound and create space. Do not stop the air. A constant airstream is vital. This is something like hearing somebody talk through an electric fan. They don't, the blades of the fan take care of that. Your tongue will take care of this. You don't have to reblow each note. A constant stream of air is vital. Practice this airstream by slurring everything together to feel how the air doesn't stop. Slurring will also help you make sure your technique is rhythmically even and gives you the chance to work on a consistent tone. Maintaining the same high back tongue position, think E throughout, will help keep the tone focused and the tongue in good position to articulate. The section of this etude from measures 10 to 24 gives you the opportunity to work on your alternate fingerings. Do this. It's going to be well worth your investment of time and effort. Work through this section carefully. In measure 18, the slide on beat 4 instructs you to slide the right pinky from the E-flat key down to the right hand D-flat key. Using the clipped articulation mentioned above will create the space you need to execute this slide cleanly. The same is true of measure 21, moving from the E-flat at the end of beat 1 to the C on beat 2. Finally, do your best to perform this etude as musically as possible. Observe the dynamics and use your air to create shape in each phrase. And a few observations that I came up with for this. When you are going into a staccato passage, staccato means separated, not necessarily short, the note at the end of a slur leading into the passage should already be staccato. I suggest that you go over articulation changes, 2-note slurs, 3-note slurs, 4-note slurs, staccatos in red for the first measure or two of the new pattern, so that you are looking for it and making an effort to get it to work right away. Almost all of us lean on left hand B and right hand C, which is logical. The opposite is not wrong, but you will tend to paint yourself into musical corners. You get into a situation that it's hard to get out of. By some very, very sound reasoning, it works best to make right hand C sharp your default fingering. So we'll play B over here most of the time, almost all the time. We'll play C over here and C sharp here. And I've noticed a lot of people leaning on C sharp over on the left-hand side, which doesn't really work to your advantage very well. It's a chromatic type of fingering. For any changes, out comes the red pen, and you R or L, right, left. Most of us use K, which is short for key, for chromatic fingering. You can use whatever you want. It's your part, and it's photocopy, so you won't be having to turn it back in when we're done. There are slides in measure 18 and 21, and those should be practiced by themselves 20 to 30 times a day with growing context. So you'll do that a few times and then add a note or two before, and do that several times, and then you'll add a note or two before, and do that several times, add a note, and so on, so on, so on. with growing context, mostly adding a note before, then another, and so on. Do this very early in the process and really every day.